Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss The Hitman's Bodyguard, starring Ryan Reynolds, Samuel L. Motherfucking Jackson, Gary Oldman, Salma Hayek, and Elodie Young, directed by Patrick Hughes. Now, I do remember going to this thing in theaters and having a brand good old time because of Samuel L. Motherfucking Jackson, but let's see if it's still as great as, or as a guilty pleasure or something like that I can remember, because that's what I remember back in the day. Let's see how this goes. Michael Bryce, played by Ryan Reynolds, wakes up and gets ready to go to work as a bodyguard and protects Kurosawa by taking him to the airport, and as he gets shot in the head, as he's now disgraced. 2 years later, Michael waits for Selfert, played by Richard E. Grant, who was the best thing about that Melissa McCarthy movie, Can You Ever Forgive Me. Michael brings him down to his car as he's still bodyguarding, as I thought he was disgraced because of Kurosawa's death, which hopefully comes back later in the film, which it does, thank God, as he blows up Seifert's car, which didn't make me laugh as much as the best thing about the movie, which I'll talk about late after I bring up the movie's villain. Let me see if I'm saying this right. Vladislav Dukovich, played by Gary Oldman, who's an international terrorist from Russia, and I get the impression he's from Russia because of his name. But Gary Oldman is a good enough actor to pull off the Russian accent, and I like this villain, and Michael, aka the Ryan Reynolds character, isn't Deadpool as I would have preferred in this movie. In Manchester, Darius Kincaid, played by Samuel Motherfucking Jackson, goes free under Amelia Rousel, played by Elodie Young's custody, and Elodie Young is from that Daredevil Netflix series, as she hires Michael to bring him to a court hearing, as I do like Elodie Young's character, as she used to have a relationship with Michael, which is why she hired him to protect Darius, as she's second best, but the best character in this movie, in my opinion, is Samuel Motherfucking Jackson as Darius Kincaid, as he's the one that makes me entertained as I'm laughing whenever he's on screen, saying his favorite word, which happens to be motherfucker, as he's making me laugh hysterically the entire time, and he's a fucking badass in this motherfucking movie. Darius gets Amelia off the street as he's protecting her from the people wanting to kill him, and Amelia calls Michael to get Darius to the courthouse as she's threatening him to do it, which makes no goddamn sense, which we get introduced to Darius, his wife Sonia, played by Salma Hayek, who will be in the next movie in a full way, who's just as violent and has as big a potty mouth as Darius does in this movie, which is kind of funny, but we'll see more of her in the next film. But for now, she's in Dutch prison. Michael gets in the place Amelia wants him to be at as he meets Darius, as he beats his ass, and Darius becomes Michael's transport to the courthouse, as when they're on screen together, it cracks me the fuck up, as the plot does work with these two actors in the lead. While Vladislav takes a stabbing on Jean Felcher, whom I reviewed twice this year, this actor as the villain with Clear and Present Danger and Fast 5, and here's the third movie in a row I've reviewed him in where he's supposed to be a bad guy. And Vladislav is a good villain for this movie, in my opinion anyways. The bad guys track Darius at the apartment as Darius beats the bad guys' asses and jumps out of the building, and Michael gets down the safer way, which made me laugh so motherfucking hysterically, as this movie is hysterical. It really is one of the funniest movies I've seen in a long time, despite the ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, as it's an action comedy. They take off in a car to get to the courthouse on the day it comes, and the adventure is going to crack me up this whole damn time, like they argue as a hell of a lot about who's the most aggressive versus the most annoying motherfucker, as this is pretty damn funny in my opinion. And I find this movie to probably be my guilty pleasure, as this movie is making me laugh so damn hard, and I like the song Sam Jackson makes up for this movie, as he sings about nobody gets out alive, as the song is funny, while Michael tries to distract his singing with I Saw the Sign, And Michael comes off like a dick in this movie, as he's supposed to be the protagonist, but I think Sam Jackson is stealing the movie from him, as he's more relatable as far as the characters are concerned, and the funniest out of any of them. Michael and Darius get shot at, and their car blows up from the explosion from the car, and almost gets killed by fireworks. And Darius, laughing about it, which is hilarious. Darius talks about love as he's married to Sonia, like I said before, as they fell in love while she was fighting in a bar. And that's how they fell in love, which was hilarious, which was a hilarious story. Violent person being another violent person, like you, and they fall in love, which isn't realistic despite she's as crazy as he is. They hitch a ride to Amsterdam, where the courthouse is, with some nuns in a van, as they ride with them until the next morning, as they sing and clap, as Darius goes along with Michael, and they get dropped off at a ship to Amsterdam, and Darius tells the story of how a white man killed his father, who was a preacher, as the young Darius shoots the racist motherfucker's ass, which is a sad story. Sure, but it's convincing the way Sam Jackson speaks those lines. Michael tries to break into his own building, while Darius takes a shower when Michael gets prepared. And I did like the scene as we see how Michael lives his life. Michael calls Amelia and tells her he forgives her and asks for her forgiveness as Darius runs out of the building. And Michael feels disgraced as he's led to believe he lost Darius, and he's being followed by not only government agencies, but Michael himself, who's still trying to protect him, and leaves tulips and a hat to Sonia in her prison. And eventually Michael catches up to Darius, as he says to Michael he's an annoying motherfucker for his rules, and tells Michael he was the one who killed Kurosawa. And he punches Darius in the nose and takes off as he goes to an outside bar and tells the bartender how Darius ruined his life, and says he's single-handedly ruined the word motherfucker, which is a hard thing to ruin, in my opinion, especially when you're Sam motherfucking Jackson. But has no choice but to save Darius's ass. And the movie has action, but at the same time, it's really funny, as he gets on a boat to escape the bad guys, while Michael goes after Darius on a motorcycle and stops the bad guys from getting him, and gets ran over by the bad guys and gets interrogated and tortured by a tattooed man until Darius breaks him out of the torturous interrogation and gets him a back seat of a car. And Michael says how he and Amelia met while he was on the job at a funeral protecting someone, as she bumps into him, and that's when they were making love. And I like the fact we know these characters, as Darius arrives in a parking garage, as Michael breaks into a Ford and destroys it, and when they get out of the parking garage, and Darius points the gun at Michael and forces him to get out of the car as they switch sides in the car, which was funny as hell. Michael calls Amelia to apologize for everything he has done while on the way to the courthouse, and Darius crashes the car as he flies out and doesn't die like he's the Terminator, as he doesn't have a seatbelt on. And by he, I'm talking about Michael. And as the bad guys go after Darius and Michael from a car chase to going after Michael in the train, as they get him at a restaurant when the bad guys find him. And the violence is over the top funny as hell, and Darius saves his life as he picks up Michael to go to the courtroom and says, "Tick-tock, motherfucker," was over the top, as it's hilarious. The courthouse grows rather impatient as Darius and Michael arrive there, as they arrive, and the trial is denied, and they get started with Darius in the witness chair, as he tells the whole truth about who the suspect is, as he exposes Vladislav, and Jean runs out as Amelia goes after Jean as he tries to escape, and a truck arrives and flips over and causes some serious damage, as Michael takes a shot for Darius And Vladislav and Darius goes after Vladislav, while Amelia beats up on Jean as she almost dies until Michael shoots him in the shoulder. And Darius catches up with Vladislav, and Darius shoots the bad guy as well as the helicopter, and confronts Vladislav and knocks him down to get killed by some guards for killing his bodyguard, whom happens to be Michael. And Michael goes to the hospital when Darius follows him to the hospital. And the last scene is Darius in Mexico and dancing with Sonia. And yes, she's out of prison while everybody is fighting in the bar as their anniversary. And the credits roll to a blooper where Ryan Reynolds shoots the outside bar scene while the bells ring and take the longest time while the camera rolls and finally says, Jesus, what is this, the director's cut? Which was the funniest climax, as it worked rather well. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 7.3 out of 10. This movie is my guilty pleasure because of Sam motherfucking Jackson, as he's the best character in this whole movie. And I do like the other characters, but Michael does at times come off like a dick. Sam Jackson stole the show for me, as I like the song he makes up for the movie, as this is the funniest movie I've seen in the longest time. There were times the movie didn't make sense, sure, but it was entertaining, as I'm keeping the 4K Blu-ray I own of this movie, as it's so fucking hilarious, and we'll see how the second one does next time. So we'll be back next time with the Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, and until next time, motherfucker, please.